Breaking news! The Chicago Bears are heading into a critical matchup against the Raiders this Sunday, and there's one thing they simply cannot afford to let happen. All eyes are on Ashton Jeanty. Could this be the game where he finally breaks out? If the Bears can stop him, their chances of walking away with a win rise dramatically. But if he finds his rhythm, it could tilt the balance completely in the Raiders' favor. Before we dive deeper into this story and bring you the latest NFL updates, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and don't forget to press the bell icon so you never miss breaking news. Now, let's move straight into the action. So far, Jeanty hasn't lived up to the hype. Across 47 carries, he's managed just 144 yards, averaging only 3.1 yards per run with just one touchdown to his name. For a player expected to be a spark, he's been surprisingly quiet. And here's where it gets interesting. According to NextGen stats, he ranks third worst in the entire NFL when it comes to rushing yards over expected, leaving 53 yards on the field that he was projected to gain. Compare that to Jonathan Taylor, who's sitting at plus 61 yards over expected, or David Montgomery, who actually leads the league with 112. This tells us one thing: Jeanty has struggled to make a real impact, but the danger is always there. If the Bears let their guard down, this could be the very game where he explodes, and that's exactly what Chicago needs to prevent. That long 70-yard run he broke off recently? Sure, it padded his numbers a bit, but the truth is this: Ashton Jeanty still sits at the bottom of the league in one key area. He ranks third worst in rushing yards over expected, leaving 53 yards on the field that most running backs would have picked up in the same situations. For perspective, DeAndre Swift was the worst in this stat last season with a negative 100+, and even he isn't struggling as much this year as Jeanty. Now, let's break down what this actually means. Rushing yards over expected is a stat that measures how many extra yards a running back gains or fails to gain compared to what's considered normal in that exact moment. It looks at field position, defensive schemes, game situations, and tells us if a player is making more out of his carries than the average back would. Right now, Jeanty is clearly underperforming. Yes, it's still early, just 3 games into the season, and the raw stats say the same thing: he's leaving chances on the table. But talent isn't the question here. Jeanty has the skill set, and everyone around the league knows it. Even Bears head coach Ben Johnson spoke highly of him. Johnson said Jeanty is a phenomenal player, compact yet powerful, tough to bring down, and fearless with the ball in his hands. He warned defenders that if you don't tackle him with proper leverage, he'll lower his shoulder and run right through you. And in fairness, we've already seen flashes of that in his first 3 games. The bottom line? Jeanty may be struggling on paper, but the Bears know the danger. All it takes is one mistake, one broken tackle, and he can flip the game in an instant. The truth is, Ashton Jeanty is going to break out at some point. Every talented running back eventually finds that big game. The Bears just have to make sure it doesn't happen this Sunday. Now, that doesn't mean Chicago's defense needs to hold him under 3 yards per carry. But it does mean they need to perform far better than they have so far this season. Right now, the Bears rank 26th in the league in rushing yards allowed per game, giving up an average of 139.3. Even more alarming, they're surrendering 5.5 yards per carry. Here's why that's dangerous: Jeanty is only averaging 3.1 yards per attempt. So when you put those numbers side by side, the Raiders are probably licking their chops. They see Chicago's defense as the perfect chance to get their young back rolling. And it's not like these stats are inflated by quarterbacks running wild. In fact, the Bears have faced Jared Goff, Dak Prescott, and J.J. McCarthy, none of them known for punishing defenses with their legs. The real damage has come from running backs finding open lanes, breaking tackles, and consistently ripping off solid gains. So, here's the big question: how confident should anyone be that Chicago can slow down Jeanty? Honestly, it's tough to say. On a scale of 1 to 10, you might land somewhere in the middle. If the Bears can keep him under 4 yards a carry, that would be a huge win, but the way they've defended the run so far, it won't be easy. Here's a fascinating stat about Ashton Jeanty, and it's not all bad. So far this season, he's rushed for 144 yards, but get this, 145 of those yards have come after contact. Yes, you heard that right. Technically, every single yard he's gained has come after he's been hit. What does that tell us? It means he's constantly needing defenders in the backfield, yet still managing to push forward and squeeze out positive yards. That kind of toughness, the ability to keep runs alive even when the blocking isn't there, was one of his biggest strengths coming out of college. His balance, his lower body power, his refusal to go down on first contact, all of that is showing up in the NFL. But then comes the big question: if he's so good at grinding through tackles, why does he still rank so poorly in rushing yards over expected? Why is he sitting at -53 in that category? The answer isn't hard to find. It starts with the Raiders' offensive line. They've struggled to open running lanes consistently, and that's forced Jeanty to battle through traffic on nearly every carry. Instead of running into open space, he's running into walls, and while he's doing his best to fight through, the numbers reflect just how tough it's been. When you look at why Ashton Jeanty's numbers are so underwhelming, two things jump out. First, the Raiders' offensive line hasn't done him many favors. Outside of Kolton Miller, the group has struggled to consistently create running lanes. That forces Jeanty to hesitate, to second-guess, and often to fight through traffic the moment he touches the ball. Second, there's the rookie factor. Sometimes his vision just isn't there yet. He's a young player, and you can tell he's still adjusting to the speed and complexity of NFL defenses. At times he doesn't hit the hole with confidence, and that hesitation costs him. When you break down the line specifically, the picture doesn't get much prettier. Kolton Miller has been steady, but other spots have been shaky. Guards like Alex Kappa and Jackson Powers-Johnson haven't graded out well, and DJ Glaze has struggled too. No matter who's been rotated in, the unit as a whole hasn't looked strong in the run game. And that's why Jeanty's constantly having to manufacture yards on his own, trying to turn broken plays into something positive. The Bears know this, and that's exactly why tackling fundamentals will matter so much. Head coach Ben Johnson emphasized pad level earlier this week, and even Pete Carroll weighed in, saying the Raiders need to get off the football better and do more to ignite their run game. The message is clear: if Chicago stays disciplined and tackles with purpose, they can keep Jeanty from being the spark the Raiders desperately need. One of the biggest side effects of the Raiders' weak running game has been the collapse of their play-action attack. Without a consistent threat on the ground, defenses aren't biting, and that's leaving their quarterback, Geno Smith, in tough spots. As a result, the Raiders have faced far too many second-and-long and third-and-long situations. And when that happens, Smith's gunslinger instincts tend to take over. He forces throws. We saw it clearly against the Chargers in Week 2, when he pushed the ball into tight coverage and threw a costly interception in the end zone that sealed the game. This isn't new for Smith. Even last year in Seattle, with run game struggles of their own, he tossed 16 interceptions. He's already got 4 picks in just 3 games this season, and his accuracy looks shakier than it has in recent years. That's why shutting down Ashton Jeanty is priority number 1 for the Bears' defense. If you keep him contained, you force the Raiders to lean on Smith, and that's when the takeaways start to come. Chicago just proved it last week, capitalizing on 4 turnovers against Dallas, including a huge play by Tremaine Edmunds. Make no mistake, Geno Smith will give you at least one chance to take the ball away. The question is whether the Bears can cash in when that opportunity comes. If they do, they'll be in prime position to control this game, because in today's NFL, turnovers change everything. So now it's time to put it on the line: Bears versus Raiders. Who do you think takes it, and what's your final score prediction? Drop it in the comments, and let's see who's got it right.